The Hustler. My main motivation for watching this movie was actually to prepare for the watching of Martin Scorsese's sequel, The Color of Money. Although I hear this is the better film anyway. What did I think? I don't have much to say, but it was good. Paul Newman plays Fast Eddie Felsen, an up-and-coming pool hustler with an attitude problem. The character is quite likeable despite some of his less likeable qualities, and you root for him the whole way through. Another character I also really like is the pool champion Minnesota Fats, who is played wonderfully by Jackie Gleason. I do wish that the movie put greater focus on pool itself. I felt that the love story side of the movie was kind of a distraction from what was really compelling to me. Overall, I don't think this movie is outstanding like some say, but I liked it overall. I give The Hustler a 7.5 out of 10. But I'm a Cheerleader. One of my favourite YouTubers mentioned he really loved this movie, so I was curious towards checking it out. I wouldn't say it's a great movie by any means, but it was a good comedy to say the least. Essentially, it's about a teenage girl named Megan whose parents are under the suspicion that she's a lesbian, and they send her to a gay rehabilitation clinic. The movie basically promotes the message that homophobia is wrong, and that gender roles in Western society are not strict rules of living, but at the same time it reinforces gay stereotypes. This made me feel as though the movie wasn't 100% sure of what it was trying to say. The satire is overall pretty funny, since it makes fun of homophobic attitudes, but at times it made me think outside the movie and laugh at the mindsets of such people in the real world. Natasha Lyonne delivers a good performance as Megan, and the supporting cast also do a fair job. Overall, not fantastic, but a good piece of entertainment. I'd give But I'm a Cheerleader a 7 out of 10. Every Which Way But Loose. I thought this was an interesting change from Clint Eastwood's usual work. This is a comedy film with a bit of action in it. It focuses on the main character, Philo Beddoe, played by Eastwood, who meets a woman and decides to pursue her across the country with the company of his friends and his pet orangutan, Clyde. The jokes in the movie are usually funny, however nothing is laugh-out-loud worthy. Quite a few of these jokes are based around the cliche of the ape doing funny things, such as him kissing a biker. Eastwood delivers a very good performance, but it isn't among his best by any means. What I felt was really contrived about the movie was the behaviour of the bikers and the other dude towards Philo. It's just unusual to see people go that far just for a little bit of vengeance. I would not say that this is a great movie, but it's a good watch and a nice way to spend 2 hours. I do look forward to watching the sequel, which is called Any Which Way You Can. I give Every Which Way But Loose a 7 out of 10. Marathon Man. One of my friends recommended this to me, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. The film is about a college student training to run in a marathon who gets caught up in a conspiracy surrounding a diamond smuggling operation and an exiled Nazi war criminal. Dustin Hoffman delivers a fantastic performance as Babe. You root for him the whole way through and can sympathise with him, as he shouldn't really have any part in the events of the film. Roy Scheider delivers a strong performance as Doc, however I would have liked to see more of his character throughout the movie. He plays a likeable brother figure, and he had some great chemistry with Hoffman. Also, I should note Laurence Olivier as Zell, a very scary character and despicable villain. One of the very best scenes is one of the most intense of the film, which is the dental scene. The mystery of the film is very nicely put together and keeps you guessing for quite a while, and it has a few twists here and there. The late John Schlesinger, I really do hope I pronounced that right, did a great job directing this movie too. It's compelling and occasionally intense. I give Marathon Man an 8 out of 10. For Your Eyes Only. The 12th James Bond movie and the 5th to star Roger Moore. Given my sheer disappointment with the previous film Moonraker, this one was a fresh surprise. Although it's not one of the best Bond films, it exceeded my expectations nonetheless. The story is overall a lot of fun and full of thrills in typical James Bond fashion. The action scenes are all pretty well done, however there aren't many that are too memorable, and they are a bit drawn out, which I think distracts from the plot a little bit. The humour is quite good and definitely much more controlled than some of Moore's other installments. I also really like the supporting cast of the movie, notably Carol Bouquet, and I really do hope I'm pronouncing that right. Julian Glover gave a really good performance as the villain, however I would have liked to see his character developed more. Overall, it's far from the best Bond movie, but I will say it's one of the best Roger Moore Bonds. Probably my second favourite Roger Moore Bond film after The Spy Who Loved Me. Check out For Your Eyes Only. 7.5 out of 10. Octopussy. I had fairly low expectations for this movie. I had heard it was one of the worst James Bond movies, and I was scared I would still be disappointed by it, like I was with Moonraker. But, surprisingly, I thought it was pretty enjoyable. It's still my second least favourite of the series so far, but I did think it was very watchable. Roger Moore, as always, delivered a great performance as James Bond. I liked the story in this one. The whole mystery surrounding jewel smuggling is a good one. Maud Adams was great as Bond girl, Octopussy, and I also thought Louis Jordan as Kamel Khan was a decent villain. I've heard this Bond being compared to an Indiana Jones adventure, and I can kind of see what they're getting at. It has so many exotic locations, and the action scenes are just as far-fetched as an Indiana Jones movie. Take, for example, the ending scene on the plane. Very thrilling. You still can't have so high expectations for this one, but I think it's better than some say. I give Octopussy a 7 out of 10. Scrooged. Not much to say here. It's a very good Christmas movie, a funny comedy, and a good adaptation of a famous Charles Dickens novel. Bill Murray plays a studio executive who eventually finds more value in life when he is visited by 3 ghosts. I thought Murray did a great job as the main character. He's often a jerk in the movie, but he can also come off as nice, and Murray is very good at playing those 2 types of personalities in a way that's suited to the genre. I did think the ghost characters were a bit irritating, and I also thought the plot was a little bit too fast-paced and erratic for its own good, but overall, it's a nice show and certainly one for the Christmas season. I give Scrooged a 7 out of 10. Machete. There's only one word I can use to describe this movie, and that is totally badass. The film is about a Mexican immigrant to the US who is hired to kill a senator only to be betrayed and who sets off on a bloody path of revenge. Danny Trejo plays Machete, and he is outstanding. He's an incredibly likable character, he's portrayed brilliantly, and to say the least, he has to be the coolest Mexican I've ever seen on the big screen. It's hard not to like him. Michelle Rodriguez and Jessica Alba delivered solid performances, but nothing too memorable. Another person to note is Robert De Niro as the senator. He's enjoyably ridiculous in his role as the redneck politician, hell-bent on stopping illegal immigration. The violence is brutal. The movie is quite bloody and sometimes even a little bit disgusting because of it. As a criticism of Robert Rodriguez, I feel that his movie is much too focused on being cool as opposed to delivering something on the more intelligent side, but to give him credit, he gave us a very stylish tribute to Grindhouse-style cinema. This is a great movie and a lot of fun to watch, but I do think it has a few flaws. I give Machete an 8.5 out of 10. Monster. I've always been fascinated by serial killers, and I advocate filmmakers to make films based on their lives. I don't think that the subject has enough films. To put it simply, if I was a filmmaker, I would want to churn out at least one movie on a killer. This is the story of one of the world's most infamous female serial killers, and that is Eileen Wuornos. What I found interesting about this movie was that it wasn't as much of a horror story as it was a heartbreaking drama. Wuornos works as a prostitute who gets involved with another woman, and as a means of supporting them, began murdering her clients for money. Charlize Theron delivered an unforgettable performance as Eileen Wuornos. Even though she kills people and does bad things, you really feel sorry for her when you see bad things happen to her. It's almost reflective of the cruel world that she came from, full of abuse and all. Theron went through a serious transformation acting-wise to deliver this performance. I really don't think anybody else could have done it better, and she really did deserve the Oscar. Christina Ricci plays her partner, Selby. She's a likable character, and it's nice to see her experience the horrors of Wuornos' murders. The film can be disturbing at times. Some of the killings are quite nasty, but there's nothing too extreme. The romance between these 2 characters is surprisingly compelling too. It's a story about misfits and people going to extreme measures. It never excuses Eileen Wuornos's crimes, but it gives the story a very human touch. I recommend you buy Monster on DVD. I loved it and would give it a 9 out of 10. The Hurricane. By far one of the most compelling dramas I've seen in ages, and certainly one of the best prison dramas. The movie is based on the real-life story of Reuben Hurricane Carter, a boxer who was wrongly convicted of a massacre in the early 1960s, and eventually was released after proving his innocence after 20 years in jail. Denzel Washington portrays Reuben Carter, and I have to say that after watching this, I have a newfound love for him as an actor. This performance was absolutely amazing, and this alone makes the movie worth watching. The other actors were brilliant in their roles as Reuben's friends, fighting to prove his innocence. The movie jumps around the chronology a little bit, and I found this to be beneficial, telling Reuben's life story in the right manner and offering the proper context leading up to his conviction. The screenplay is fantastic, as is the direction that put it to the screen. The movie at times is dark, but also moving, and it has a real sense of hope, which is appropriate for the genre. I also love the use of Bob Dylan's song Hurricane, which acts as sort of a theme song for the movie, and that is one kick-ass song. Above all, it's a really amazing story that definitely needed to be put into film. I give The Hurricane a 9 out of 10. It's an outstanding movie. That's my video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and goodbye.